We're talking to Susan Silvester. She is our fourth artist interview for today's Verge Open Studios tour. Susan is an interdisciplinary artist who is originally from New York City, big shot. Before making her home in Sacramento, she has worked as a model maker on many projects, such as the Pee-wee's Playhouse. I remember that. Yeah. The Pillsbury Doughboy, and retired Universal Back to the Future ride. Besides showing in many galleries, she also has created many public art projects, such as the 5'4" by 5 feet paintings for the Elk Grove Animal Shelter. Welcome, Susan.
Yes, I'm still here.
Can you talk about the various media you use to create your art? Because when I first met you, you were primarily a painter, and all of a sudden, I remember you started getting into printmaking, and then you started doing all this other stuff, and now you're just all over the place. So fill us in on some of how you make your artwork.
Well, you know, being a model maker for 15 years, I learned a lot of materials. And when we were in grad school together, I had to they made me focus on painting, but they still said I was all over the place. So I was just holding back. You know, once I got out of grad school, I could do all the things that I really love doing. And I would put it down to the materials I use are really based on painting, drawing, and sculpture. So I just do it all. You know, I'm good at sculpting because I had a lot of hours sculpting props and models for commercials. And so you get really exacting in that. And then I, you know, drew a lot because I was a graphic designer, and I created tons of screens for, like, I worked on one of the first PC games. The people who did Doom, they were the first, it was one of the first PC games. I worked with the company that was an offshoot of that. And,
oh, wow.
And created,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Rise of the Triad. It was the first network platform in 1995.
Susan, so you mentioned like all the different things that you do. Can you, for the people who don't know, because I know all the stuff that you do, well, not everything, but I know a good amount of the processes you use. Can you just kind of name off a few of them, so and maybe explain them a little bit?
Well, I started doing the digital work, and then it wasn't enough. So I ended up incorporating doing mixed media, like oil painting, into the digital work, going back and forth. And I thought, why can't I do them together? So that's when encaustic came into it. So encaustic came in because you can layer your material, you can go back in and paint, you could add, you know, ink transfers, you can put pastels in there, you can do a lot. So that's when I kind of did the encaustic thing. And then when Myrtle Press came to Verge, I thought, oh my God, you know, like now I can do printmaking. And so then I take the printmaking and I do it with the encaustic, and I kind of mix and match and just do things back and forth. I love all of the mediums. They're just, you know, I'm very, I guess, process oriented. So I like learning new techniques. I like taking my imagery and reusing it and repurposing it to maybe because I'm just lazy, but I like to
no.
I like to take the characters and see how they look in different mediums, because to me it's almost like being like, you know, it's like a film, it's like a movie, you know, you're telling a story, and how does that story come across when you do it in, you know, as a print or more graphic, or you do it as a, you know, Renaissance type looking painting, or, you know, or encaustic where it becomes like a dreamy thing. I don't know. So just all fun.
What I would say is, knowing your work, and for anybody who hasn't gone to Susan's studio, I really, really encourage you to go check it out. But I love seeing artwork where I'm not sure how the artist made it. You know what I mean? And so when I go to your studio, even though I know all these different processes, I could just tell that there's a lot of things going on in your work, and I really appreciate it, and it has so much depth in it. But since you've told us about all the different processes you've used in your artwork, can you tell us a little bit about your subject matter? Because that's a whole other thing.
Yes. So like when we were in grad school, they was, you know, say do something personal. So what came out was that I really like working with young children and adults, because I think their faces are not imprinted yet with like all the years of your life. And so as an open-ended narrative, you can like put a lot into that. And they're not like Hallmark, like happy little kids. They're very serious. So a lot of the imagery that I use is based on vintage drawing, vintage photographs I find online that are copyright free. And they're very serious, those kids, and maybe because they were, scared to death that they couldn't move when they had to take those photographs. But so I'd like to keep things, that kind of grounds it so it doesn't become like sentimental. I want it to be on that sugary side, but kind of in the dark side. So it's kind of like balancing those two. So I know people, take work in the way they experience it. And when they tell me they think it's so whimsical, I know that they're not that educated yet about art, but it's okay. I mean, that's their interpretation. But most of my artist friends, they know there's a dark side.
No, yeah, and I was actually gonna say, like, look, your art is pleasantly strange. Okay, because you're totally right. There's a spookiness to it. There's something in the figures that doesn't quite sit right when you're looking at it. But at the same time, you're dealing with imagery that is, typically something you would associate with a like fun childhood.
Right.
But then there's like weird stuff going on in there too. And you're just like, oh, well, no, that's not so fun anymore. Is there any way you can maybe show us one of the images you have back there, or something that's close to you, so that way the
It's
people
hard
can?
to, I don't see myself, so I don't know what you're seeing. It's really weird.
There's a painting right behind. Oh, that's a really large painting, I think.
This one?
Yeah. Oh boy.
This is what I'm working on now.
Okay.
I don't know what you're seeing, but it's me and my brother as a child, and it has like it's like 40% done. It's very early.
Artists hate showing work that's not done yet.
But it's like a dying dandelion, and there's going to be a lamb in it, and there's a rainbow. So it's like there's a lot of, and it's snowy at the same time. It's like this weird landscape. So yeah, that's like kind of the feeling I want to bring to the work. It's just sort of a statement about, and I specifically use different symbols so that they become themes in a trope in the narrative. But it doesn't have to be. You can just look at it and go, oh, cute little lamb, like that kind of thing. I'm okay with that, but I know for me that it's like a story that it's not about the story. It's more about the feeling you're going to get from it, and what's going to elicit your memories to kind of remember that kind of feeling. So, it's elusive, whatever you want to, get, if you're a painter, you want to get to that elusive thing, that thing that you can't get to,
Yeah, exactly. Kind of drives us. So these figures that you have, specifically the children in your work, because it's kind of like an ongoing theme in your work, and they all kind of seem to have like this same expression. Like, how did you choose that as your subject matter?
It kind of evolved. I've never wanted to have like smiling, happy little kids. That's not what it's about for me. It's almost like they're like stepping in for adults who really show the darker side of things. So the children are like that kind of thing. They're trying to, kids you think are so happy, but they're not. It's a very stressful time actually, being a child.
Yeah, you think about when you were a kid. It
It
wasn't all happy, right? And same for me.
I always felt it wasn't fair. Like things weren't fair, like that was like my biggest take.
That's why you always wanted to grow up, right? Everybody always wants to grow up when they're a kid. You want to be an adult.
And then you find out the truth. So it's fun, So I think that it's a way of me just getting into my work, and I just find it. I love their little faces, and I really enjoy, like, now that I'm sculpting again and I'm doing figures based on my characters. That expression is what I love, and so. Just carries through, it's just the way it is.
So what's like a typical day in your studio? I mean, because you use all these different materials. There must be like I would say a chaotic but yet functional mess.
Yeah, well, if I had done a series of things, it's a mess. So I spent a lot of time cleaning up and straightening out. But once I get to that point, and now that we had all this time during this COVID time, I've separated the studios. So now I am definitely painting and doing my digital upstairs and my sculpture and printing is downstairs. So and now I know where all my tools are. It's really nice. So yeah, like before I used to spend like an hour just looking for that tool. Like, where is that stylus I need? Like.
I hear you.
Like I added silver point to my work. So I'm starting a little tiny one. I don't know if you can see it because I can't see.
Oh yeah, yes.
So and silver point is like, the epitome of like drawing, because you can't erase, and but I can sit in front of the TV at night and do this.
Nice.
Just like, and it's the finest line and the most detail you can get. So I can get, in school, don't be so detailed. I can be as detailed as I want with this goose. Not get this kind of detail with a pencil. It smears. So
yeah.
Using the silver point, you can get that hatch smooth, that surface I want. So
nice.
So that's what I do. Yeah. So in my studio, getting back to that, I basically, if I'm working on a painting, like I have to paint in the morning upstairs, it's hot. So by the afternoon, I go downstairs, and that's when I do like I'm slip casting now, like a mold that I made, and it's messy. So I have double doors, and I can go outside, and I can clean all my tools off because it gets all clay, and it's really messy. So yeah. So
Susan, knowing you, I know that you're very prolific. You make a lot of work. Are there any current or future exhibitions you're going to be part of? So,
well, I'm part of Sparrow Gallery now. I just did a cyanotype that I glued onto a record, and a acrylic painting. I have 2 pieces in there, and there are upcoming shows that I can't talk about yet, but I'm pretty excited about. So I can say one might be in LA. I'm really excited. So
nice.
We'll see if that happens. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I got my fingers crossed for you.
I hope so. Yeah, that would be nice. So.
And how can people find your work after the studio tour?
Well, you can always go to my website, susansilvester.com, or Facebook or Instagram.
And could people buy your artwork on your website?
They can't buy it, but they can email me, and we can have an exchange. Yeah, that's the only, I am not promoting the selling part at this point. I'm mostly just wanting people to know about me, and yeah, but that's how they can get in touch with me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Simple.
Well,
it's good seeing you.
It's good seeing you too. I haven't seen you since March.
I guess.
Probably before March.
I know.
What are we doing?
I know.
Well, it's good to see you right now, and awesome to see that, of course, you're still working on stuff.
Yep. I'll see you around for sure.
Definitely. All right, Susan.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.